is Pastor Curry, pastor of the Zion Fair Baptist Church, Wilmington's most exciting church, the church that love ya and anything you could do about it. Today with Coffee with Curry, what we're doing is we are in the midst of celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month. Now, it's interesting because it starts September 15th and it goes through October 15th. And what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we share some great and interesting interviews so that you'll get a chance to understand the Latino as well as the Hispanic culture. And I hope today that you will call somebody, tell them that we have a phenomenal guest on today, Miss Adriana. We met her a couple of years ago, and I've found her to be very strong and very much knowledge in the Hispanic tradition and culture. So why don't you call somebody real quickly? Tell them Coffee with Curry is on, and let's get after it.
Matt had his faith and trust in God's word been activated in his life. See, this is the reason why I encourage each of you to get in a relationship with God, because people will put you in hell, but God came to set you free. If he had the faith of God activated in his life, he would not have stayed there for as long as he stayed there.
Join us in celebrating our very own Pastor Curry's 17th pastoral anniversary, September 25th, 2022. This day, we will celebrate Pastor and First Family Curry, 17 years of preaching, 17 years of teaching, and 17 years of leading. Join us at 9 a.m. to hear the word from our very own daughter, Reverend Shashika Edwards, and at 11:30 to hear the word from Pastor William J. Scott of Harold O. Davis Memorial Baptist Church. We hope to see you all there again, September 25th, 2022. Join us, and join us.
And we're back. Well, it is a joy and a privilege, Adriana Fernandez, to be a part of the Coffee with Curry. I never had the opportunity to talk with you on a very up close and personal moment, because most of the time when I see you, you're here helping your fiance here at Zion Fair. You're volunteering, doing what you can to make sure that he stay on top of the world. But today, I wanted to really spend some time talking with you because I'm impressed with you. But before we get into all of the Hispanic heritage, let's talk a little bit about Adriana. Where was she born? Who's her parents?
So I was actually born in Puerto Rico, in San Juan, Puerto Rico. I was raised in the Virgin Islands. My parents are both Puerto Rican. My mom was born in Puerto Rico. My father, who was born in St. Croix, but raised for the most part in Puerto Rican culture. I have a little brother who was also born in Puerto Rico.
Okay.
And yeah.
What are some of the things that you all do, being reared, being born rather in Puerto Rico, and then you said you was in St. Croix as well.
Mm-hmm.
What are some things that you remember so fondly as a child doing with your parents?
Well, I remember all the time, like, because St. Croix doesn't really have that many resources, we would always go to Puerto Rico for like all of our school supplies. Like right before school started, we would go for summer, a week or two, getting all of our school supplies because they have more options over there compared to a smaller island. We would say hello to our family. We'd stay by my grandma, my great grandma when she was alive. It was really nice being able to get all the culture of Puerto Rico and seeing like the difference between the two islands. The food really is, it's always a great memory. Just having the different kinds of foods, and I love, they have this kind of shaved ice, kind of like a snow cone, but a little bit more dense. It's called piragua. And it's
Say that again.
Piragua.
Okay.
So it's like you get a little snow cone, and then they put like a juice or syrup on top of it, and it's so good.
Really?
I love it. Yeah.
You know, often hear people say that, especially those who didn't have a lot of means when they were growing up, that it was the food around the table that really brought the family together. Would you say that is true in your case situation as well?
Definitely. And just food in the Hispanic community is very important. Like we have my my great aunt, I should say. You could not leave her house without eating.
Oh, wow.
My mom would always be like, "Don't say that you're hungry because she will feed you, and we don't have time for that." It would be so funny because one time I said I was hungry, and she took out a steak from the freezer and defrosted it in the microwave right away and tried to get it cooking for me because she just loves to cook for everybody. And I feel like it is definitely a cultural thing that Hispanic women love to feed our families.
Okay. Now, mom, dad, what kind of work do they do?
My mom works for Customs and Border Protection.
Okay.
She works with customs mostly, and my father works for the National Park Service. So they're both federal employees.
Here in the United States or in Puerto Rico?
Here. They are actually living in Pennsylvania, just outside of Philly.
Okay, good. So y'all are all citizens now.
Yeah. Yes. So
Okay.
everybody in Puerto Rico is a part of the United States.
I know. I said it that way on purpose because what I never will forget. I didn't know until I guess it was about 15 years ago. I was sharing that I'm a United States citizen to one of my Latino friends, and he said I am too.
Yeah.
I said no, you live in Puerto Rico. He said, did you not know? And I felt so small because I really didn't know. And at that point, I should have known. But it's good to know that mom and dad are here, not only here but right on in Pennsylvania, which is not too far away from here. Now, to my understanding, you went to Westchester University at one point.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me a little bit about that.
So yeah, I actually moved up here my senior year of high school. Mm-hmm. So I went to Pencrest High School, and
where's that at?
That's in like Media. It's a smaller school and
Mm-hmm.
smaller town. But from there, I had a really great science teacher who like understood my struggles of having to integrate into a whole new community. And he was like, I think you do really good in a city school. I originally wanted to go to Temple.
Oh.
But I didn't get in. I guess their acceptance was too much.
Uh-huh.
But he told me about Westchester.
Mm-hmm.
So he was like, it's a kind of like a city school, not as big as Temple, but you get that small town feel, and he thought I would really like it. So I went, and it was really nice. I wanted to really get connected to my Hispanic roots more, mostly because I identify so much with the Virgin Island culture.
Okay.
So I wanted to connect with something more Hispanic because my parents are always getting on me, like, you're a Puerto Rican, you need to do some stuff. So I actually got involved with a dance group there called Mass Flow.
Okay.
And essentially it was like a Latin dance group. And we would practice and do events. We had a performance at a local Mexican restaurant there. And it was really nice. We got to dance and do a little bachata and salsa.
What is bachata?
Bachata it's like a slower dance where the count is a 4 count. And it's like 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
All right. You gave us a little lesson here on the set as well.
A little lesson.
Yes. Now, I am also a graduate of Westchester University, and my experience there was totally different when I was on the graduate level when I went. How was your experience with dealing with is a majority white school? There is minority students there. Mm-hmm. How were you able to survive there, or how do you feel your experience was?
It was definitely interesting.
Okay.
I was hoping, I don't know, because coming from the Virgin Islands, it is predominantly Black and Hispanic.
Right.
So it was definitely a very big culture shock coming to the States, where I'm going to predominantly white school. And honestly, I had no idea the significance about like historically Black colleges and universities. Mm-hmm. So I just kind of blindly went. I didn't really have much time to look into the different colleges and universities that were around here, like most people do, typically 11th grade. Mm-hmm. So I just went into Westchester just accepting that my teacher had a good mindset for me. Okay. And it was a little interesting at first, a little hard, But the involvement fair was probably the biggest thing for me, just being able to see all the communities and organizations that Westchester had to offer. And I saw like the LASO, the Latino American Student Organization.
Mhm.
And I immediately wanted to get connected with
Okay,
them,
good.
and the Black Student Union, of course, as well.
Yeah.
And with LASO, I saw Mass Flow. They were talking about it in one of their meetings. And I went, and I was like, my parents have a very big thing with dancing. They have won dance competitions for salsa and
Oh,
everything.
okay.
So I kind of wanted to like show off a little bit and just kind of like make them proud a little bit and say like I did participate in this aspect of my culture. And with that, I found this whole community that I didn't even know existed inside of
Wow.
Westchester.
Mhm.
And it really just opened so many doors for me.
Yeah, you just helped some young person who is on their way to college. You not knowing what you were walking into, trusted your counselor, your guidance counselor. You got there, but what caused your, in my, as I hear you speaking, what caused your experience to be good is that you found like-minded people or people of same interests, and it opened up a whole world for you.
Yes.
And you was even able to do some dancing. Maybe we'll get you to do some on the set one day. But you were able to do some things that you like doing
Mhm.
because you were able to identify what people did. Now, were you strong? Were you able to speak English very strongly then, or how did that work?
Yeah, so the primary language of the Virgin Islands is English.
Right.
It's more of like a stronger accent. So if you think like Jamaicans,
Okay.
how they speak, is very much similar to that. But my parents wanted me to make sure I was speaking properly, so it wasn't that huge of a transition for me.
Okay.
Some words I would still like kind of say a little bit differently, and it was a little difficult.
Okay.
A language barrier, I
Okay.
guess.
Yeah.
But you know, still to this day, like some words that I say, my friends will tease me on. Like I can't say like comfortable or like vegetable. Like they get on me, and I'm just like I just can't say it any other way.
Yeah.
I'm saying it how it's read.
So the reason why I asked that question is because you were born in Puerto Rico,
Mhm.
then you went to St. Croix.
Yes.
So when did you go? When was the transition?
I was just born in Puerto
Oh,
Rico.
okay. Now I
Like,
understand better.
yeah.
Okay.
So I spent majority of my life on St. Croix.
Okay. All
My
right.
parents just wanted us to be born in Puerto Rico,
Okay.
so they literally took the flight, gave birth, and came back.
Okay. Oh, she was your parents are very cultural conscious, and I think that's very relevant in the day that we live in today. Let's talk a little bit about your brother because I got a good concept of mom and dad. Now, how old is he, and what is he doing?
How old is my brother?
Uh-oh, I caught you off guard.
I'm 24. He's 20.
Okay.
And he works for the government, and that
Okay.
is all I can share about his job.
Okay, and that's good enough. And that's good enough. Okay, so that means he's doing well.
Yes.
And he's 20, like you said, and you
Yes.
told the whole world what your age is, and we don't ever ask any ages, but I guess you're proud to be the age that you are.
Yes.
You while you were on Westchester's campus, I'm not sure how it all came about because Dion, who is your fiance, he has his own version of how y'all met. So I want to make sure I got it right. But how did y'all meet?
Through one of my friends,
Okay.
one of my sorority sisters. She
Okay.
was closer to him. They were friends before I even knew him.
Mhm.
And just one time on a FaceTime call, I poked my head to see like who she was talking to, and he was just like, "Ooh,"
Oh.
and I was like, "Mm."
And that's all they wrote. She wrote because y'all have been together for a little while now.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That is really awesome. I remember when he did tell the exact same story. So, well, he didn't say the part about the he just said we met through a mutual friend.
Yeah.
But who said oop first? Oh, he did. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure I keep that part of the story strong. So you had an opportunity to be born in Puerto Rico, lived in St. Croix.
Yeah.
I came to Pennsylvania, I believe it was.
Yes.
And your parents are doing well. Your brother's doing well. And I just, in the first segment of all of our shows, I like people to get to know the person. and you have done well. And I often say this when I see it. You've done well with, one, handling the language, but two, also handling yourself as a lady. I've never seen you out of sync. You know what I'm saying? And I'm very admire the relationship you have with your fiance and he has with you, because he carries that. And people are like, who is he talking about? Well, they don't have to know, but the point is, I wanted them to see that the stability that you bring to not only to you and your fiance, but also to, as I would say, the people who are around you. What type of work do you do?
So currently, I work for a nonprofit organization called the Veterans Multi-Service Center.
Uh-huh.
I essentially help homeless veterans find permanent housing. I'm a case manager there, so I work directly with veterans and helping them. Essentially, I'm like an advocate. I find resources for them. I get them connected to any benefits that they may or may not be knowing about or having. And then I work with my other coworkers who find housing, connect them to healthcare stuff. And yeah, we're just trying to help those who have served.
Yeah, and that's where I was really going when I was saying you bring stability. I guess I was getting in front of the question, and I think that's very honorable, one, especially for our vets. But how do you like doing what you do?
I really love it. It is a very rewarding place to be. Just coming from people who are at their lowest point, don't know what to do with themselves, have never been in a position like this, have done so much for our country, to be so low, and then I'm able to get them to a place where they can finally relax.
Wow.
It's really heartwarming. I have this one client who was homeless for 3 years, and I was able to get him into a nice studio, efficiency.
Great.
And just hearing him be so grateful is really all that matters to me.
Awesome. Awesome.
Just hearing them is nice.
Well, just know that we appreciate what you do, because when we come back for the next segment, we're going to talk more about the Hispanic culture. But I wanted people to see the heart before we start dealing with some of the profession and some of the knowledge you have with your culture. You do your culture well. And I want to make sure that I say that to you, because all too often the press only get the negative side of any culture. But for them to be able to see your heart, and that's what you're showing us so far today, that your care for your family, when you're speaking of your mother and your father and your brother, and we've not really talked in details about Dion, but we did somewhat. You can see the heart, and then to be able to help veterans is just beyond measure. So thank you on behalf of America. Thank you so much. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we're going to come back and we're going to talk a little bit about the heritage. All right, we'll be right back.
Important day on the national calendar. Hispanic Heritage Month kicks off today. This celebration has been expanding over the years, and ABC's Gio Benitez now with a look on the key contributions this community has made.
Today, September 15th, marks the start of Hispanic Heritage Month. Bienvenidos, or welcome to the month-long fiesta, recognizing how Hispanic and Latino communities have contributed to U.S. culture. From activists like labor organizer Cesar Chavez fighting in the 60s and 70s for better wages and conditions for farm workers, and government leaders like U.S. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, in the U.S. Senate, Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz. In 2009, Sonia Sotomayor became the first Latina justice to serve on the U.S. Supreme Court.
Congratulations and welcome to the court.
To big-time athletes like Roberto Clemente in 1973, becoming the first Latino player inducted into the National Baseball Hall of Fame, followed by other greats like Alex Rodriguez, Mariano Rivera, and David Ortiz, a.k.a. Big Papi. And entertainment stars. In 1962, Rita Moreno became the first Hispanic woman to win an Academy Award, then a rare accomplishment. An EGOT, winning an Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony Award, helping to open doors for future stars like Selena, Lin-Manuel Miranda, Jennifer Lopez, and many more. according to the latest U.S. Census report, more than 60 million people identify as Hispanic or Latino, making them the second largest ethnic group in the United States. But what's the history behind Hispanic Heritage Month? Well, it began in 1968 under President Lyndon Johnson as Hispanic Heritage Week. 20 years later, President Ronald Reagan expanded the week to a month, enacting it into public law.
We're not just here to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Week, but to announce that in 1989, the period between September 15th and October 15th will be Hispanic Heritage Month.
The start date, September 15th, is significant because it's the independence anniversary for many Latin American countries. Entering its fourth decade as an official celebration, Hispanic Heritage Month marks the countless ways Hispanics have helped build the country we live in today. Viva la vida.
Viva la vida. I learned a lot. That was really cool. We want to thank Gio Benitez for that report. We appreciate that.
What do you see when you look at the two of us? We're both actresses, and we're both Latinas.
The Latin community is made up of many different nationalities.
I am Costa Rican.
I am Mexicana.
I am Puerto Rican.
I am Ecuadorian.
I'm Brazilian.
Mexican and Black.
I am Cuban.
I'm Mexican and Irish.
Colombian.
Mexican.
Cuban.
Mexican.
Puerto Rican.
Salvadorian. Mexican.
Dominican.
Mexican.
Mexican and Spaniard.
We are experienced professionals both in front of and behind the camera.
I'm an actress and a language consultant.
I'm an actress.
I'm an actress.
I am an actress and screenwriter.
I am an actor, entrepreneur, screenwriter, and producer.
I am a director, DP.
I'm cinematographer and director.
I'm an actor.
I'm a director.
I'm an actor. I'm a stuntman. I do choreography for stage combat and for dance routines.
I'm an actress, screenwriter, and producer.
Producer, director, and actor.
I am an actress. I am a director and producer, and I coordinate commercials in Atlanta, Georgia.
I'm an actor and a screenwriter.
As a set costumer and also upcoming actor.
I'm a cinematographer and film editor.
I'm an actress.
Most of us, but not all of us, speak Spanish.
I speak Spanish.
I speak Spanish. Yes, I do speak Spanish.
I don't speak Spanish, but I speak Portuguese.
I speak Spanish.
Yo hablo español.
Yo hablo español.
I speak Spanish.
I do speak Spanish.
I do speak Spanish.
I do not speak Spanish.
I do speak Spanish.
We are highly educated and continually trained to improve our craft.
My union affiliation is IATSE 479 for set costumer, and my education is as far as college, bachelor's degree in video production.
I have a bachelor's degree in film and television.
I have a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration and Management.
I have a BFA in ballet and an MA in dance and public speaking.
I have a bachelor's degree in cinema.
I studied at New York Film Academy, and I'm SAG eligible.
I am a SAG actor. I have an MBA, and I'm a veteran.
I'm SAG eligible, and I have a background in communications and IT.
I have a bachelor's degree in business.
I have a master's degree in film and television, and I founded an award-winning production company.
I am a BMI award-winning songwriter, and I am non-union.
Somos. There's more to us.
Somos. There's more to us.
Somos. Hay más de nosotros que pueden ver.
Somos más de lo que piensan.
Somos. There's more to us. Somos. Somos mucho más.
Somos. There's more to us.
Somos. There's so much more to us.
And we're back. And what we're doing today is we are just celebrating and being able to get some information and to understand Hispanic heritage. And what I wanted to do in this segment is to just talk a little bit about it. There's two segments of it, whether it be the Hispanic culture or the, how you said,
Latinx.
Latinx.
Yes.
And I want to kind of see both of them because there are some fundamental differences there.
Yes.
So let's start with the Hispanic part.
Okay, so I feel like a lot of people don't always understand what the difference is between Latinx and Hispanic. So Latinx is mostly viewed as like Central America,
Okay.
like people who are Mexican, anywhere from like Honduras, that kind of area. Whereas Hispanic is almost seen as more of the like Caribbean Hispanic. So people who are from Dominican Republic, people who are Puerto Rican, people who are any kind of blend of Hispanic or Latin culture that is within that side of the global hemisphere. So for me, like I would consider myself Hispanic, not Latina, because I was born in Puerto Rico. I'm Puerto Rican, so I identify more as with the Hispanic culture than Latina culture.
And is it more because of where you were born, or is there a cultural difference?
There's almost a little bit of a cultural difference. Well, I shouldn't say a little bit. There's a good difference between the two cultures, where depending on where you identify, where you were born, what roots you even hold, more Hispanic people have different kinds of food. They show Hispanic has one set of food and Latina has a different set. So when you think Latina, you're thinking more like, more Mexican style foods, more like corn, more Mexican style. Whereas like Hispanic, you're looking at more like roasted, like meats, like roast pork, looking at like rotisserie chicken, and like more things that have more of an African influence into it.
Okay. And do you have any idea why?
Well, so during the slave trade, in the triangular trade route, a lot of Africans were enslaved and brought over to the Caribbean, the Lesser Antilles, the Greater Antilles, and their cultures mixed with the natives that were there, the Taíno Indians and the Caribs and vice versa. So that kind of mixture created a whole new culture, mostly because they didn't get into the Latin American area, is why we have more of that African influence in our food and in our culture in general.
I'm glad you pulled. I was trying to pull on you to give me some more, and you did. Now, for example, what are some? I need some dishes from the X as well as from Hispanic. Like you said, rice and corn, but like well, you didn't say rice, you said corn. But tell me, just like give me a good meal. If I'm Hispanic, give me a meal that I'm going to enjoy.
Definitely rice and beans.
Okay.
So I know for Puerto Ricans, rice and beans heavily, and then also roast pork. For Puerto Ricans, growing up for me, I called it lechon. It's mostly known up here as pernil.
As who?
Pernil.
Okay.
So it kind of is a location thing, just like where you grow up, like what kind of slang you use, kind of. But when you're thinking about like people from Dominican Republic, they have more things that are plantains. So like things like mango and onions, and mango is basically like green plantains smashed together with like garlic and a bunch of other spices, and they like their salami, and it's similar in the sense where we both love our rice and beans, but the specifics in the dishes are a little bit different. There's something that I grew up as like kind of like a Christmas holiday food that it's called pasteles.
Okay.
And that is very similar to the Latinx dish of tamales.
Okay.
Whereas tamales is more like corn based, and pasteles is more I don't even know what it's mixed with, like plantains and cassava and just a bunch of like root stuff blended together and making this sort of paste.
Okay. Well, you all are known for the spices, and I think that's what really separates the difference in the taste and everything else. Are there Help me with some of the spices that you all use. I heard you talk about garlic. I know because I know that is one definitely.
Garlic is very big. So I know growing up, my mom always wanted to use it's called sofrito,
Okay.
and it's basically blended mixture of red peppers, green peppers, garlic, onion, and it's a family of cilantro. It's called recao. It's not exactly cilantro, but it gets kind of that flavor, but it's a little bit more like strong, and the leaf is longer, so it's not like how cilantro is more fanned out in little leaves. It's more like a whole leaf.
Okay.
That's a very key ingredient in almost any single dish you can find. That's like the base product. We use tomato sauce and sofrito.
Okay.
And then, of course, seasoning with adobo.
Yes.
And sazon is also a really big one. Those are like sazon, adobo, and sofrito are like the big three in any Hispanic household.
Okay. Now, is there a dessert that you all just like? I'm sweet potato pie. Okay, I'm not trying to even be generalizing. If you give me a piece of sweet potato pie, I'll be your friend for a while. All right, but is there a dessert that you all really cater towards, or you like?
I could name a few.
Okay.
The first one is definitely flan.
Flan. Okay.
Yeah, it's like a custard
Yes.
type pudding that's baked, but it is so delicious.
It is.
I love it so much. And then there's tres leches, which I cannot eat. That is way too much dairy, but it's essentially like three different types of milk into a cake. So it's very, very moist and very, very like rich and thick, and it's really good. I love it, but I can't have it all the time.
Okay.
And then there's, of course, rice pudding as well.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so
I love rice pudding.
rice pudding is
We had
so
we
good.
have there was a church mother here named Mother Lula Waterman, and she would make rice pudding, and I always thought it was something that they got from down south because it's just unbelievably good.
Mhm.
But I did not know that was one of the things that you all really enjoy too. Do you
Yes.
know how to make any of that? Well, that was going to be the next question. I was going to say, what is your favorite dish to make? But finish saying what you were saying about the best desserts.
Well, there is the only other one I can think of off the top of my head is another. It's like a pastry dessert. It's called a quesito. So it's like a puff pastry with like a sweet mascarpone cheese in it.
Okay.
It doesn't always have to have the cheese. I've had things where it's like guava paste in it. And it's also really good.
Okay.
But there's a bakery in Puerto Rico that makes them wonderfully, and I think it's called España.
Now, is there anybody around here? You live in Delaware, am I correct?
Yeah.
Is there anybody around here who can? And we have some very strong Latino communities here.
Yeah.
But is there anybody around here who can make desserts the way we make them at home?
I have not met anybody here that can make it just like back home. No, because a lot of this community here is actually more Latinx culture.
Okay, Latinx.
So I've found very, very few people who gear towards like, oh, we make Puerto Rican. So I've seen like a lot of Dominican restaurants and Mexican restaurants, but Puerto Rican restaurants, I think there's maybe 2 in Wilmington.
Oh, okay.
And then I just recently found a woman who is doing it on Facebook. I think her Facebook is called Flavors, and her food looks really good.
Oh, it looks good. You haven't tried it yet.
I haven't tried it yet, but I want to.
Well, try it before we get impressed. Well, what about you? Do you cook? And first, that's the question. Do you cook?
Of course.
Oh, you said of course. And what is one of your favorite dishes that you like to make?
I really love stewed chicken.
Okay.
It's so basic, but it is so good. It's so flavorful. Like I love my seasoned rice, so I put like rice. I cook the rice with some sazon and some sofrito and pigeon peas.
What is pigeon peas?
Pigeon peas they're small like this. And if you think of like a regular pea, but it's flat.
Okay.
Not
all right.
too flat, but almost like a lentil, but like a bigger version of a lentil. Common staple. I remember growing up, with my grandma, she had a tree and would pick them all, and then having to open up the pods and take out all the pigeon peas growing up for her. Oh.
Yeah. So you like doing the stewed chicken?
Yeah.
And it comes with, you cook it with rice.
Yes.
Now, does all of that go together, or do you rice over here, chicken over here? How does that work?
I put the chicken on top of the rice because it has like the gravy in it
Okay.
too. So I'm really big on like gravies and sauces. I cannot have just dry rice. I need a sauce on it.
Yeah. Now Dion is African American.
Mhm.
Does he like that your cooking?
I would hope so.
Yeah, well, he has gotten bigger since y'all been together. I got to be honest with you, but I've seen him even with his pal. He comes to work with a
Yes.
lunch pail, so he must like it pretty good.
I'm always making. I think it's definitely weird trying to cook for 2 people compared to cooking for my whole family. Like
Yes.
cooking for 4 versus now I'm just cooking for 2 people. I'm trying to break the habit of cooking like 5-6 cups of rice.
Yeah.
Now I need like 2 cups of rice. Like
Yeah.
there's not that many people to feed, and I don't want to waste food. So
Right. So now we're at this place where we're as we're talking about Hispanic culture. What are some of the holidays that you all cherish?
I think the most important holiday that I have growing up that no one ever knows when I talk about it up here is called Three Kings Day.
Three Kings.
Yes.
Okay.
So I believe it is the 6th or the 5th of January. It comes after New Year's and Christmas. And essentially, it's the day where the 3 kings came to give the presents to baby Jesus.
Okay.
So the tradition is that you take your kids, you get a shoebox, and you cut grass. You put it in the shoebox and you put it in front of their door, in the kids' door, the bedroom door. And you go to sleep. And when you wake up, the camels have came and they ate the grass, and the 3 kings have left the kids presents.
Oh wow! So it's almost like the Christmas when they talk about the Santa and
Yeah, it's like a second, because you would still celebrate Christmas.
Right.
So it's like a second Christmas almost.
Right. Well, if you think about it, if you look at the whole story, then it's kind of like that. I understand. So is that more with the X, or is that more with the Hispanic?
I think it's more Hispanic. I have only ever heard Puerto Ricans knowing what I'm talking about.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's specifically like if you've grown up in Puerto Rican household, or if you've grown up in the Caribbean or with Caribbean parents that you know it. But a lot of people up here, they don't even know what it is. They've never heard of it. But it's definitely celebrated a lot, especially even in St. Croix. We celebrate it. Typically, they have like a little parade and have it.
Good. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a quick commercial break, and I want to come back and I just want to talk about the importance of education in the Latino, as well as, I keep saying X on purpose because I don't want to ever misstate the title, but it's
LatinX.
Latinx. But I just want to talk about the importance of it because there's a lot of myths, and I want to make sure they understand that the myths are just that, but the truth is where we're going to go. So we'll be right back.
Let's check out 10 ways you can celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month. 1. Check out more history. The internet and public libraries have an endless array of historical books, articles, photos, and videos. Learn more about Hispanic and Latino roots or brush up on current events. 2. Watch a Spanish language movie or documentary. Movies and documentaries are a great way to immerse yourself in the culture from the comfort of your own sofa. Check out Netflix and relax. 3. Make a playlist of Hispanic and Latino artists, whether you like pop, rock, country, or reggaeton. There are many Hispanic and Latino artists to inspire you while you work, clean the house, mow the lawn, or enjoy during your daily commute. 4. Listen to a podcast from Latino or Hispanic creators. Podcasts are a great way to learn something new while on the go, or even getting ready in the morning. There are topics in English and Spanish that cover music, celebrities, history, current events, interviews, and more. 5. Cook your own traditional meal, especially if you like to cook. or eat. Trying out a Latin-inspired recipe is a great way to honor the month and expand your palate. There are plenty of easy recipes online, like empanadas and ceviche. 6. Check out a museum exhibit. Research local museum exhibits or events that celebrate Hispanic and Latino artists this month. If you can't find anything local, jump online to view lots of virtual museum exhibits. 7. Take a Spanish class. Spanish is a growing language, so why not sign up for a class? Not only will it make it easier to communicate with others in everyday life or in your travels, but you'll be able to immerse yourself in the culture. 8. Take a dance class. Did your new playlist inspire you? Take a dance class to go along with it. Bust a move with flamenco, salsa, and more. 9. Support Hispanic or Latino-owned businesses. Research locally owned businesses that you can support during Hispanic Heritage Month or throughout the entire year. Look for food trucks, restaurants, supermarkets, and mom-and-pop type stores. And lastly, 10. Donate to causes benefiting Hispanic and Latino communities. One of the biggest ways you can support these communities is by supporting and donating to the causes that affect them. Research and find an organization that speaks to you. An entire month dedicated to celebrating and becoming immersed in Hispanic and Latino culture means there's a lot of time to try different activities. Have fun, learn more, and make the most of Hispanic Heritage Month.
And we're back. Great conversation today. We have an opportunity to sit down and just have a conversation with Adriana, who has really been a blessing, even though she doesn't work for us, but she shares her fiance with us. And every time I've seen her here volunteer, whether it be our blood drive, whether it be things that he's involved in, she's just here to lend a hand, has such grace, such charm. And the first thing I asked Dion when we said we're going to do some shows on Latino history or Hispanic history, I said, "What about Adriana?" And he said, "She has a wealth of knowledge of it, so that'll be great." And I'm glad you had an opportunity to come. We have covered so many different things, but I want to just cover just for a minute a little bit about the importance of education in the Hispanic community.
Yes. So one thing that my grandmother growing up has always told me was to go far in my education. Learning so much about the world and your culture will really give yourself a different perspective, and you'll really find yourself looking for work and how you can help your community the more you learn about your history and the world, how everything has been impacted by things. So growing up in the Virgin Islands, I feel like I've been really blessed to have a very different education compared to what I hear from like my friends who have grown up in the States. I learned so much more about my culture, my heritage, knowing exactly like what has happened, what people have gone through, versus I feel like in the States, the schools don't give you that kind of information. A lot of people don't even know that the Virgin Islands was a very key part in like the slave trade and things like that. There's even been a lot of tragedies surrounding like Puerto Rico and how the United States government bombed areas and were testing and creating very hostile environments for women, completely sterilizing women, and very traumatic events happening. You kind of want to make sure that you're knowing about that history so that that doesn't happen again.
Right.
You want to make sure you're knowledgeable in where you're going, who you're talking to, as far as like healthcare and things like that, so that you're not putting yourself in a situation where something like that could happen again.
Yeah, and so you contribute your grandparents, your mother, your parents rather, for making sure you understand that education is going to be the key to having the knowledge, to know your history, because when you know your history, you're not going to be doomed to repeat those same mistakes.
Exactly.
And you made a comment that you had a different educational experience,
Mhm.
being that you came from St. Croix.
Yeah.
Um, and I think the way you equated it was here they don't have the teaching of history
Mhm.
for your culture
Yeah.
like they did in St. Croix.
Mhm.
What type of commitment do you think you have to make sure that everybody you come in contact who has a Hispanic culture or heritage know their real true history?
I would say if you don't fully understand what even your grandparents have gone through, it's very hard to appreciate what you do have.
Mhm.
So a lot of the times I'll see kids just like kind of running around doing whatever they want, feeling a little entitled and wondering, questioning, why do I have to do this? Why are we like this? And once you start learning more about your culture and like how your generations and generations before you have came to be in the situation where they are now, you you get such a greater understanding and respect for them because you know that they've been through so much and the change that has been seen, like obviously there needs to be more change. The change doesn't stop.
Yes.
But the significant change from your grandparents until now is significant and is important to understand so that you're electing officials in correct positions. You're making sure that those mistakes are not repeated and that we're not taking steps backwards.
You know, it's interesting that you said even knowing the history of your grandparents and you're young. So grandparents, you're talking about 2 generations up, but your history, your culture is much steeper than that.
Definitely.
But you're saying even to know that much is to make you appreciate, make you humble, and you find people who do not know that. If you're agreeing with me that, hey, they feel entitled. I deserve this, I deserve that, and make the mistakes that cause some of the crises that the people have experienced. If there's, Adriana, I first thank you because you were able to share your experience with us today. You were able to share what you know about your heritage, and I think those who are watching us feel very comfortable with saying you're landing right because you're young. You got a lot more to travel, so you're landing right. I often tease Dion because I knew your name before I knew a lot of other people's names because I like his relationship he has with you, and I appreciate that. And I said that to him privately. You're as I was saying, you're landing right. I just hope that you can say something to some other sister or brother who's a part of the Latino community or the Hispanic community, and just share with them how the current is not the end, but we had a plan. Well, whatever you want to share, I want to give you that opportunity to do that.
Well, I would just say I understand that there are struggles within our community, and sometimes things aren't always fair, but always just try to persevere, push through it, look for a better route. If what you're doing isn't working, don't get stuck on that. Don't get down on yourself about why it's not working. Find another way to get past that roadblock. And the best thing, honestly, I would say is education and not just school, just learning different perspectives, understanding different point of views from different people. Understanding will help propel you and get you into a place where you're meant to be.
Well, I tell you, you have really done well for me today because I got an opportunity to get into your culture a little bit and learn some things that I did not know, especially the rice pudding. There's many other things, but I'm just going to keep that in my head because I'm going to have to see if could you make rice pudding?
I've never tried it. I mean, I could always try.
Okay, well, before Dion leaves me, you got to make sure you bring some over. Just make it up and make it happen. But I truly appreciate you taking the time to just after work, and I know that you have had a long day, but you did exceptionally well. The people appreciate you. We're celebrating, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful to be a partner. I appreciate how you tied the African slave trade because that was the truth.
It's
But
very important.
I'm very appreciative to how you tied that together to talk about really the connection and the tie that we have in sharing culture.
Mhm.
And for those African Americans who are watching us today, know that we're not better. You're not better. We're from the same soil.
Yes.
And I really, really appreciate what you've done for us today. So thank you so very much. Is there anything else you would like to share?
No, I think that's it.
You're shy today, but I do hope and trust that you all who are watching us would make sure that, especially if you're Latino or Hispanic, please make sure that you celebrate and your history, get to know it, understand your heritage, because this is the way that you'll get to your real freedom and you'll be emancipated from the opinions of other people. Because all too often we go off of what we've heard and what someone have told us when we have never taking the opportunity to learn what we need to learn about our own history. Because if you don't know your history, any place will be your destiny. We'll be right back.
Let's celebrate who we are. Let the festivities begin. Vamos a bailar. Like Frida Kahlo and Diego Rivera, we paint a picture, the world stops and stares. Like Carlos Santana, feel the music inside. J-Lo and Shakira make your body come alive. Nosotros juntos, el tiempo es now. Colombia, España, Caribe, everybody in the house. Nosotros juntos, it's time to celebrate. Chile, Argentina, México, and Uruguay, celebrate. Wherever you come from, wherever you are, en todo el mundo, shine bright like a star. And dance, dance, dance to the rhythm in tu corazón. Dance, dance, dance to the rhythm, join the celebración. Celebrate, we celebrate. We celebrate, celebrate, we celebrate. We celebrate. Severo Ochoa looked inside our DNA. Ellen Ochoa took our dreams to outer space. As we write a story, the Latin experience comes alive. Allende, Darío, Neruda got stories in every style. Yeah, our culture is rich and delicious. Got thousands of wonderful dishes. Tacos y ropa vieja, chapulines, mole, paella. We take care of our people in need. Jose Andrés got a hunger to feed. Siempre comida, amor que servir. Celia Cruz got a song we can sing. Nosotros juntos, el tiempo es now. Honduras, Panamá, Perú, everybody in the house. Nosotros juntos, it's time to celebrate. Cuba, Costa Rica, Ecuador, and Paraguay. Wherever you come from, wherever you are, en todo el mundo, shine bright like a star. And dance, dance, dance to the rhythm in tu corazón. Dance, dance, dance to the rhythm, join the celebración. Oscar de la Renta got us changing with the seasons. Clemente hitting home runs, keeps the crowd up on their feet. We got Messi scoring goals, while the whole stadium roars. We always win, we do it well, and everybody knows. Wherever you come from, wherever you are, en todo el mundo, shine bright like a star. And dance, dance, dance to the rhythm in tu corazón. Dance, dance, dance to the rhythm, join the celebración. Wherever you come from, celebrate, we celebrate. We celebrate, celebrate, we
And we're back. I hope and trust that you all enjoyed the show today. It was truly a refreshing moment for me to be able to sit down and just have a conversation, a cup of coffee, just the dialogue on culture, and to see the common people. She's not paid to come in and talk about her heritage, But she came in and she shared and she gave us a history lesson, and I'm very grateful for that. I hope and trust for all of my Latino brothers and sisters, to all of my Hispanic brothers and sisters, I hope and trust that you really, really get to know your history, walk in your history, because you have a proud history. You are a proud people and have come from a proud land. I hope and trust that you all enjoyed our show today. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whichever, all those wonderful things. And you can always look us up at Zion Fair Baptist Church. It's been a joy being with you today. Until the next time, God bless you real good.
Matt had his faith and trust in God's word been activated in his life. See, this is the reason why I encourage each of you to get in a relationship with God, because people will put you in hell, but God came to set you free. If he had the faith of God activated in his life, he would not have stayed there for as long as he stayed there.
Join us in celebrating our very own Pastor Curry's 17th pastoral anniversary, September 25th, 2022. This day, we will celebrate Pastor and First Family Curry, 17 years of preaching, 17 years of teaching, and 17 years of leading. Join us at 9 a.m. to hear the word from our very own daughter, Reverend Shashika Edwards, and at 11:30 to hear the word from Pastor William J. Scott of Harold O. Davis Memorial Baptist Church. We hope to see you all there again, September 25th, 2022. Join us, and join us.